You are listening live on Twitter and YouTube to the best football show. And I am Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL across all social media platforms, Threads, Instagram, Meta, X, you name it, YouTube. And you can download this app if you're not listening to this live, you want to listen to later. Just download your free Odyssey app and follow the best football show and like and subscribe to it, and we can grow this thing. Anyways, we're all live here today. So this is Friday. I guess it's May 30th, but I have been on the road here in New Jersey, headed to a bunch of different OTAs this week. I went to the Giants and the Eagles on Wednesday. I went to the Jets on Thursday. I should be at the Florida teams next week, probably starting with Miami early in the week. Anyways, let's talk about what we saw, because I went up to see the Giants early in the morning on Wednesday morning. And honestly, it was, Malik Neighbors, as Brian Dable said to the whole media beforehand, is dealing with a toe. It's nothing to worry about. There's no surgery, but they're just being cautious. So he was not participating, but he was there. But really, to me, the story was the rookies, because I think they have a very good rookie class. And so, look, Abdul Carter, wearing number 51 after taking a shot maybe at 56 or 11. He settled on 51, but, his movement and his size and what people were saying about him was fun to watch. But, honestly, I've never seen Jackson Dart live, the 25th pick of the draft. Maybe the future for the Giants at quarterback. We'll find out maybe as soon as this year. But, I like watching quarterbacks throw. So I got a chance to watch Jackson Dart in everything from Skelly to individual drills to 7-on-7. It was basically Russell and Jameis on one side. It was Tommy DeVito and Jackson Dart on another. But, just his overall presence, you could feel it. He's a big kid, close to 6'3", over 220 pounds. He's got a good arm. I wouldn't say it's, an elite arm, but he's got a good arm. Nobody's going to say he can't play because of his arm. He's got a good arm. But it was just fun watching him throw the ball, natural accuracy with it. He started 41 games at USC and at Ole Miss. So he played a lot of college football. And the Giants invested heavily. They traded, up into the first round with the 25th pick to take him. So that's that. Then there was, there's Marcus Bowe, a rookie. Kind of watching what he did. He was right tackle Purdue last year. They got him inside at guard right now. There's Darius Alexander, big defensive tackle out of Toledo. He had all kinds of opportunities to leave Toledo and take more money, NIL money, all that stuff. He wanted to thank Toledo for believing in him. He never left. He's got a six-year-old son, I believe. He's a very mature kid, but big with good movement. Nobody's bigger than Dexter Lawrence. So, he stands out alone. He had a nice day out there. And then there's Thomas Fidone, the tight end, working with Bellinger and working with Theo Johnson in the tight end group, watching him get about his business. And then there's Cam Scatterbo. And you can't help but notice Scatterbo. He's short, compact, big, thick legs, catches the ball really, really well. I was just watching the Giants. I was just watching, and then, if you're a Giant fan right now, you're like, okay, what is the future of Evan Neal? Right now, he's at left guard. He's at left guard behind John Runyon. That's where he's at right now. Now, can he win a guard spot? He can. I think they're going to give him an opportunity to win that spot. He's the 7th pick in the draft. All right, they've already changed positions from right tackle. All right, Jermaine Illuminar is the right tackle. Andrew Thomas, the left tackle. But Van Roten, they would love to him. He played every snap last year for the Giants. They'd probably love to have him in a reserve guard center role and have Evan Neal start. But regardless, they've got some depth there now that they haven't had before. They've got guys that have played the position, have played well. Aaron Stinnie, different guys. Nick Harris was in Cleveland for a long time, playing a variety of positions. They've got some depth up front. Ultimately, they want to play the 5 best players, and get that front established. Because I think if you look at Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Cam Scatterbo, if you If you block them up front, you put a hat on a hat, those two backs are going to gain yards. They're going to break tackles and gain yards. All right. And so, so that was my focus with the Giants, honestly. Like they didn't do a whole lot. You know what? I mean, they were outdoors. They went a little longer than the day before. It was only the second OTA. Brian Dable was asking not to read too much into it. It's the second phase of the offseason for him getting on the field. It's good seeing Javon Holland out there and Paulson Adebo and, some of the guys they brought in free agency. Brian Burns always impresses when he's out there. New face mask, looks pretty cool. But that was my focus, honestly. I wanted to see Jackson Dart throw. I want to see Abdul Carter in the uniform. I want to see Scatterboo run. And that's what I did. That's what I kind of concentrated on. I left that practice before it ended so I could get to the Eagles afternoon practice on Wednesday. And honestly, the Eagles, it was raining. So the Eagles went inside in the indoor facility. Got a brand new poster up on the wall there with, two Super Bowl champions and Super Bowl 52, Super Bowl 59, big Nick Foles over here and, Jalen along with, a bunch of other guys from this past Super Bowl 59. Obviously, you look at Saquon, he's up there. But it was just an impressive practice, period. The energy level was through the roof. Now, look, they're indoors. They're in an indoor facility. It's really the first big day they had as a group. And it was just what you would expect from a Super Bowl champion team. It was a up-tempo, and I mean up-tempo, fast-paced practice where nobody stands around. Everybody is doing something. You watch the young players like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Like if they're not in a drill, they never stop working on the footwork, like nonstop. Nolan Smith, if he isn't in a drill, he's working on bending the corner and rushing the passer and two-hand swipes and spins. Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach, they've got 3 rookie offensive linemen, Drew Kendall, center guard. I mean, those guys never stopped working in the corner if they weren't involved in a team drill. And then when they did do team drills, Nick Sirianni's got a blowhorn and he's calling out situations. 3rd and 6, 38 seconds to go. And here's Jalen Hurts got the offense lined up, minus Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They weren't out there, but other guys were. Dallas Goedert was out there. Saquon was out there. A.J. Dillon was there. Jahan Dotson was out there. It was impressive. And then just the type of drills that they do. Like they had 12 takeaways in the postseason. Or was it 13? They had 12 or 13 takeaways in 4 postseason games. Averaged 3 a game. And a bunch of them were the old Charles Tillman, the peanut punch. They run a peanut punch drill. I don't see any other teams running it. I filmed it and put it out there. Like every single player on defense ran the drill. All right. And it's just a simple drill where you're setting a block, which was a sled, and then somebody's running and they got the ball in the inside hand and you come off the block and you punch the ball out and recover it. Every single player on defense ran the peanut punch drill. Then what blew me away was everybody on offense ran the peanut punch drill, or at least the offensive guys that play special teams and have a chance to knock the ball out. I guess in theory, if you turn the ball over, fumble recovery, interception, you could get the ball back with a peanut punch. And honestly, I heard about this during the season last year that they watched a big tape of the peanut punch. And it's one thing to watch a tape of Charles Tillman and how he did it because he was known for it. It's another thing to actually incorporate drills into doing it. And it was a big part of their postseason success. So, just watching, Jalen Hurts out there and, still, coming off a Super Bowl MVP, taking charge of the huddle, in and out of the huddle, very crisp, and very, very fast moving practice. It was, they started at, I want to say they let the media inside right at about 1:00. and I would say it was probably 95 minutes, but quick, up tempo, a lot of enthusiasm. Jihad Campbell was there on the sideline, dressed. He wasn't participating, but just looking at his size compared to, say, a N'Kobe Dean, who was out there dressed but wasn't participating because of the injury. You can see the size. I mean, Jihad Campbell it's pretty impressive. I see a question here because we are live about Jordan Davis. Look, Jordan Davis is going into his fourth season. He was the 13th pick in the draft. He literally was playing about 13 plays a game in the postseason. He didn't play a lot. Some of it is conditioning. Some of it is get better pass rushers on the field. Jordan looked good. He looked big, but he looked good. Yeah, in limited OTA, looked fine. I'll say this about Jordan Davis. His agent hit me up after the season. I'm not going to go into what we talked about, but I told him, I said, look, I want to be a fan of Jordan Davis, and I'm not a nasty hater. I'm not any of that. But, I remember talking to Dexter Lawrence after going into his third year, I believe. Maybe he was going into his fourth year, and he hadn't done much. And I remember he was challenged by Wink Martindale that if he wasn't a Pro Bowl player, Wink was going to put it on himself for not bringing the best out of Dexter. And Dexter told me, because Jordan Davis, Dexter Lawrence, there's only, Vita Vea, there's only a half a dozen players that are 350, 360 pounds playing the defensive line in this league. If you want to play more than 13 snaps a game, you want to play 50%, 60% of the snaps, you got to have pass rush. You have to have endurance. And what I told Jordan's agent was, look, I think some of this getting tired out there in the fifth play and coming off the field, I think it's mental. I believe Jordan Davis is a good enough athlete and conditioned well enough that he can play. He can't play Jalen Carter snaps. Not many guys, or Max Crosby snaps, but he doesn't need to. But I like to see Jordan Davis play 55% of the snaps this year. And that's a mental thing. He can do it. And if you play 55%, 50 to 60, say 50 to 60% of the snaps, because the Eagles are always going to rotate. But I believe Jalen Carter is playing too many snaps. I think he's more effective if he played 80% of the snaps instead of 90 or 95. And in some games, he played every snap. But some of it is because Jordan Davis isn't out there. And so Jalen Carter's taking a lot of those snaps. So they drafted Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. He's going to be in the rotation with Moro Ajomo. That's your four-man defensive tackle rotation right now. But if Jordan Davis wants to have a bigger impact on this team, he needs to be on the field and stay on the field. And if that's conditioning, it's conditioning. If it's weight, it's his weight. But I believe a part of this, now going into his fourth year, is mental. It's a mental block. He can play longer, harder than he thinks he can. And if he does, and he plays more snaps, he'll have a bigger impact. How does Ty Johnson look? He looks exactly like you thought he was going to look, like a beast. Like he's big and he's thick and he's fast. Like he's going to have an immediate role on this team. He's flexible, but he's thick. He's got thick lower body, thick upper body. He's big. He's long. I remember seeing him the first time I watched him was at the Combine. He busted out, 4.9 40 at 290 pounds. I remember Matt Rule was there watching him in Indianapolis. Matt coached him. I think Matt even recruited him at Nebraska. But he's going to have a nice. He's going to play week one against Dallas. He'll be in the rotation week one. I think Ty Robinson has a very bright future in Philly. I think that was a good pick by the Eagles. In fact, Ty Robinson was a fourth round pick, right? Fourth round pick, probably where he should have been taken, third or fourth round, I figured. But yeah, he's going to be in that defensive line rotation. And then yesterday, I headed back up the turnpike to go to Florham Park. Real quick, I think Jordan Davis, just to follow up, I think he's got a future, obviously, but he needs to be on the field longer. more snaps to have more of an effect. I went up the turnpike to Florham Park yesterday to see the Jets. I was on the field very early before practice began. The first guy I saw on the field, and this is a great sign, was Armand Membu, their first-round pick. He was on the field working on sets by himself in the corner of the end zone. I introduced myself to him. I had never met the guy before, did a bunch of breakdowns on him. So that was encouraging. But honestly, I really concentrated on a couple of things yesterday with the Jets. One, just watching Aaron Glenn work. He basically went around to every single drill, watching the coach the drill, watch the players perform in the drills with literally a steely eye glare on everything. It's a much different atmosphere in New York right now. I wouldn't say it's low key, but it does not have near the hype that I've seen over the last 2 years. The basic beat reporters are up there. There was probably 10 of them. But there wasn't this hype that followed Aaron Rodgers into the offseason that I saw the last 2 years. So it was very, very small crew. I watched Aaron Glenn throughout, just go from drill to drill, because he is a disciple of Bill Parcells, did play for the Jets. I believe, like Bill Parcells did, he coaches the coaches and he coaches the players. And I think Aaron Glenn, just watching him, I believe he was, involved with that. So the other guy, let's just talk about some of the things that jumped out. I mean, obviously, I really wanted to watch Justin Fields play. He's very fast. Like, he took off with it in a couple of team drills. It didn't look like anybody could catch him. When he did take off, I mean, he just glides. He glides by people. Made a number of throws on the run yesterday. The ball isn't always a tight spiral, but it was good locations. I thought he made a number of good throws yesterday in some team drills. The other guy, obviously, Garrett Wilson is Garrett Wilson. He always looks fast and elite, always. But honestly, Mason Taylor jumps off the screen. The way that he moves, the way that he runs his routes, the crossing routes, the seam routes, some of the things I saw him do yesterday, he looks like, and I saw him in pass protection yesterday. I saw him run blocking. Like, he is going to have a real impact, I believe, in this offense. All three backs, whether it's Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis, Allen, they all, had a role yesterday. They all had their share of touches and their share of catches. Defensively, they look bigger to me than they have. Derek Noddy inside, he looks bigger than guys that they've had in those positions in the past. He's going to be their one technique defensive tackle. But Jay Tufele, the Polynesian, Byron Cowart, Fedarian Mathis, all look big. Now, the guy, if you're a Jet fan right now, the guy that you should pay attention to, it was second day of OTAs, so nobody's getting crazy here. But this Leonard Taylor, number 96, like, this guy has real talent. He's 6'5", he's 305 pounds. He's got a big frame. He played at Miami. He flashed last year. Now, he has some. I'm not here to do anything personal on it, but he has some maturity issues. Everybody recognizes he's got ability, but if Aaron Glenn can get the talent and the focus out of Leonard Taylor, I think they got themselves somebody that could actually start next to Quinnen Williams inside at that one technique nose tackle. Now, Noddy plays that run technique, that nose tackle pretty good. That's what he did in Kansas City. He's good at that. He can anchor down. But I think Leonard Taylor, I'm curious to see how he does. So anyways, that's kind of, it was good to see, Jermaine Johnson out there moving around, coming off the Achilles. Like, I saw him running yesterday, moving, wasn't partaking in drills, but it looks like he's on a pretty good schedule to get back, because he did break out in the second season. Then, of course, tore his Achilles last year early. So that's kind of the Jets. I don't know. Like Sauce Gardner was out there doing what Sauce does. Obviously, the secondary had a number of additions this offseason. So we'll see. DJ Reed is gone, but Brandon Stevens came from the Baltimore Ravens. Andre Sisco's at safety right now. They drafted Malachi Moore in the 4th round. But they need to take the ball away. It helps if you're playing with the lead. If you're not always behind like they seemed to be last year, that does help. We unleash a pass rush, but they need to take the ball away. And we've been saying it now, for the last 5 years. They need more takeaways. The other guy that did jump out though, was a wide receiver from Georgia. It's just interesting. Arian Smith is has elite speed. I know he ran the 4.3s, but he's a legit 10.5 100-meter dash guy. Ran track at Georgia. Like he can flat out run. Now, he had 10 drops in not that many targets last year at Georgia. There's too many. A lot of concentration drops. Does he have bad hands? They say he's worked on the jug machine every day, but you can see his speed. Like he gets on top of people. He steps on people's toes quickly. He runs by people. Arian Smith is a guy you have to pay attention to. He wears number 82. Xavier Gibson changed his number. I think he was 82. Now he's number 3. So you got you've got Gibson, made the team 2 years ago as a free agent. And you saw Alan Lazard out there yesterday. They look like they're a wide receiver short to really compete. We'll see if anything happens, who's available, who comes available. But right now, it looks like a pretty thin group of guys. But Justin Fields was the story yesterday. And then, obviously, they've got Tyrod Taylor, backing him up right now. So that's kind of the OTA report over the last couple of days. It was good. I would say the Jets were really very business as usual. A lot of new coaches, a lot of new ways of doing things, a lot of new drills that they were working on. Without the fanfare, without the hype, just looked like it was good. Just a good, solid get down to work day is what it looked like to me. I doubt very few teams will look like the Philadelphia Eagles did on Wednesday afternoon. Some of it, again, you're practicing indoors. Everything echoes. Everything's loud. You're all in one field. There is a lot that goes into that condition that makes it sound, really impressive. But just watching the Eagles work, I guess complacency is always the things that people worry about after you win a Super Bowl, and why it's so difficult to repeat is complacency. But I didn't get the feeling that there was complacency at play watching their OTA. I felt like this is how champions practice, and that's what they did. I left there coming away going, that's what championship teams should look like, where they don't have to be told everything. Everybody knows the drills. There is a new sheriff in town calling the plays in Kevin Patullo instead of what they had. But I feel like that was anybody that likes football would have gotten a lot out, and it was well attended by a lot of media. So anybody that needed a football fix, any of these places would have handled that fix with Giants, Jets, but the Eagles are just head and shoulders above. So anyways, that's been the Best Football Show. Thanks for joining me live here, everybody. Look forward to talking to you next week. Can't wait to I hope I can get to the Dolphins, to the Buccaneers, and to the Jaguars. It's not confirmed yet whether I can or not, but I would love to be able to do more of these OTA reports. I'm not a guy out there charting every single pass by Justin Fields or, Jackson Dart and completions, because I think that's all a bunch of nonsense. I just like to take it all in and then kind of give it back to you, what I saw and what my takeaways are. Very little can be gleaned, from guys running around in shorts and a helmet until they start putting contacts on. But there are some things, how to practice, tempo, execution. Those kind of things are pretty easy for the eyes to see. All right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Look forward to have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next week.